Hey friends, welcome to Jacqui Just Chatters. We've got a little bonus episode this week because you are listening to an award-nominated podcast. Yep, little old me, Jacqui Lentz, your hostess, and her podcast reached the finalist level of the Quill Podcast Award in both the Best Society and Culture category and for Best Podcast of the Year. Like the whole shebang. Can you believe it? I'm still struggling to believe it, actually. Now, I will not know the results for at least a week or longer, and I'm trying not to think about it too much. When I hear, I'll let you know, so we're gonna all keep those fingers crossed. And I want to tell you, thank you so much for your support. I am thrilled beyond words to be nominated. Honestly, to make this finalist level, that was I just was beaming light, because I knew so many of you had voted for me, and it took your effort, and I cannot thank you enough. I couldn't do this whole podcast without you. Knowing that you guys are out there listening and the feedback you give me, it means so much to me. You are amazing and you are a delight. And I want to remind you, you have earned your right to be here just by being you. You're wonderful just as you are. Now, many of you are listening to my story share episodes, which I adore putting out there. They're so much fun. We've got a wedding theme coming up in June. So, it's the bridal month, so we have to do that. But I thought I might try to do one more before the year is over. But I don't know what theme I want to do. I got all these different ones running through my head. So I need your opinion. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go to my listeners. I'm going to go to my fans. And you guys need to tell me what you want. So there's a few ways you can vote and have your voice heard. I have posted about the whole voting thing on both Facebook and Instagram. Or you can head over to Spotify. They've got this whole new thing going on, and I've made a poll there. So if you click on the episode, Be Kind to Yourself. So you click on the episode, and then you scroll down the text, you will see a poll for the different theme options, which the theme options, no matter if you're on Facebook, Spotify, or Instagram, they're all the same. It is vacations, moving, family, friendship, or life lessons. And I think it is so cool that Spotify now lets you give feedback on individual episodes. So not only can I create a poll, but you guys can just share your thoughts about that episode over there. So if you've got thoughts, man, head over to Spotify and leave a message. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Hey, if you're enjoying my podcast, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode or an announcement. If you are really enjoying my podcast, and I hope you are, why not give me one of those 5-star ratings, baby? Maybe a review as well. Share the love. And those are super helpful in getting my podcast out to a bigger audience. And I think more people need to join our merry band here. All right, moving on. I recently took a road trip down to North Carolina. My husband and I were on the expressway in Ohio, and we both just had this hankering for Subway. Like one does. Like a sign from God. There was a message board, just boom, right there. We said, hey, I want Subway. And yeah, that sounds really good. And then 30 seconds later, there's the message board on the side of the road. And there's the little sign, the little logo saying there's Subway at the next exit. And we're like, holy cow, we're hungry. And what we want is right there. So we slid into the right lane and we made a quick exit. I had been so distracted by the source of lunch and that it had showed up just like that I didn't really notice much else until we got off the ramp and we were facing the welcome sign. And I just started to laugh. It just tickled my funny bone so much. There is this message that is boldly welcoming people to Byeville. That is bye spelled B-Y-E, as in goodbye. And I'm just like, wow, what a friendly place. You get here and they're already telling you to get lost. Bye, go away. We don't want you here. I'm like, man, this place is just harsh. So we pull into the subway parking lot. And after a really good stretch and, trying to get the blood back into our legs, we saunter inside. There's one woman working at the counter. She turned out to be the manager, named Jocelyn Gambita. We place our order and she, starts putting our sandwiches together. And I can't help myself. I had to know. The curiosity was killing me. I asked her if she knew the origin of her town's name. She shook her head, sadly admitting that while she'd always lived here, she had no idea how the town got the name Byville. And, I'm disappointed, and because I thought, this might be a story, but, it's not a story. And I started heading to the restroom, and I, turned and taken a couple steps, and then I heard her pause. And I could tell it was one of those pregnant pauses that happens, like I could hear the wheels churning and turning in her head. And then she commented that every year the town celebrated these things called Jonathan By Days. And she wondered if maybe the town was named after him. And that she had celebrated Jonathan By Days all the time. She never connected the days to the name of her town. And then we're all laughing because we're like, there's probably a good chance that Jonathan By Days are connected to Byville. So after we're laughing, she's like, well, maybe he was a miner or a mine owner because this was mine country. And at that point, my bladder is demanding attention. And so I left to take care of business. Upon my return, the sandwiches are bagged. Everything's done. She and my husband are looking at her phone. During my absence, a Google search had been done. The town was indeed named after Jonathan By. He'd come into the area in 1820, and he had opened a water-powered grist mill, making the Quaker a very successful man. I found a charming website that talks about the man and these Jonathan By Days that celebrate him, and I'm going to include a link to that in the episode notes. So we're all smiles and laughs, and Jocelyn's informing us about this forgotten man. Thanks, Jocelyn, for being so friendly, fun, and being willing to be dragged into my curiosity dark hole. Saying goodbye, my husband and I took a quick drive around the town. It is a small, working-class town. It is not a tourist destination or any place that people would say is a special place. But it will always be special to me because it's a place full of regular people living real lives. And if Jocelyn is anything to go by, you can find kind people who will give up a few minutes of their day to help you achieve a much needed mental escape from what ended up being an 11-hour road trip. If you find yourself near Byville, Ohio, and you're feeling hungry, why not stop over at the subway? If Jocelyn is there, you'll get great service, and tell her hello from me. I'll be putting a photo of Jocelyn on my Facebook and Instagram pages if you want to go check her out. I mentioned that my final destination was North Carolina, Oak Island to be precise. While we were there, we took ourselves on a trip to Wilmington to see the USS North Carolina, which is berthed on the Cape Fear River. She's a World War II battleship decommissioned now and currently used as a museum. She is well worth your time. It is fantastic, and you better plan for minimum an hour, but I would plan up to perhaps up to 2 hours to check her out. It is quite something. If you've got someone from the Navy amongst your friends or family group, try to get them to come along with you. The part of the ship I liked best, I want to sideline here. You better call her a ship and not a boat. I learned this lesson several times from my father, who was a former naval man himself. Well, I guess he still is a former naval man. When I asked him the difference between a ship and a boat, this is the explanation I always got. A boat can go on a ship, but a ship won't fit on a boat. And you know what? To this day, I still can't explain it any better myself. I thought about that phrase and many other things about my dad while I was walking around on the ship. He was safely back home, but I wished at least a dozen times that he had been there to talk to me about life on a ship and just Navy stuff. As I was saying before, my favorite part of the ship was the bakery. I know, right? But yes, they have a bakery, and it was just so fascinating to walk through there and see the equipment and all the little boards telling you about the bakery. It wasn't huge, but oh my gosh, the amount of bread and cake and pie that room churned out every day was breathtaking. Here is a quote from one of the message boards in the bakery, and it astonished me. We made a minimum of 340 pies to a shift and did it on an assembly line. One guy chopped out the pie dough. We used 12-inch broomsticks to roll out the crust. One guy rolled the bottom and put it in the pan. He passed it to the next guy, who ladled a quantity of fruit into it and passed it to another guy. He threw the top on it, crimped it down, and passed it to the next guy, who put 3 of them on a paddle and shoved them in the oven. It was quite an assembly. It didn't take us very long to make 340 pies. That was a quote from Don Ayers, who was a baker second class. I mean, just like imagine that process and them just making pie after pie after pie. 340 a shift. I think of how long and how much I complain about making one pie, let alone 340 pies. But it really kind of gives you a scale. They had posted their recipe for pumpkin pie. And this is what's listed of what goes into their pumpkin pie. And I'm just going to read it to you. So yeah, this is an actual recipe card from the ship for pumpkin pie. Pumpkin, 7 cases. Evaporated milk, 1 case. Water, 33 gallons. Sugar, 100 pounds. Eggs, 30 dozen. Cornstarch, 22 pounds. Milk powder, 15 pounds. Nutmeg, 12 ounces. Ginger, 12 ounces. Cinnamon, 1.5 pounds. Salt, 14 ounces. I mean, the sheer quantity. Can you imagine like that much stuff being used? It really boggles my mind. It delighted me. From every moment I was in there, I just thought it was so fascinating. But everybody finds their own things that fascinate them and what they love. If you would like to take a virtual vacation to North Carolina with me, check out my posts on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to be running a 6-part series to take you on a journey with me. And before I head off, I want to thank my listeners in Italy. I feel so cosmopolitan knowing I have a group joining me from that historic peninsula. I'm going to try to say this in Italian. Grazie. I probably slaughtered it. I'm sorry. You get the point, though. Thank you. I really appreciate you. And all my listeners, I appreciate every single one of you. And until our next episode, which will be an interview about a woman who lived in Sicily. Speaking of Italy, so you're totally going to want to check that out. Be warned, it's going to make you hungry. So until then, I wish you well.